Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. Today we're taking a look at Maketoys Downbeat, which is their rendition of, I guess, a Masterpiece Jazz. About a month or so ago, maybe a little more than that, I started to realize that there was a jazz-shaped hole in my collection as far as like Masterpiece stuff goes. And also, I really thought that Generation Toys J4ZZ looked really cool. And so I was like, I'm going to try and hunt that guy down, and I couldn't find him anywhere. So then I was like, all right, well, let me look at some of the other jazzes out there, see if anything tickles my fancy, and then I watched a couple of videos on Downbeat, and was like, you know what? That looks pretty great. So now I have Downbeat, and he is pretty cool. His car mode is very much jazz. Unfortunately, if any of you have seen the unboxing video, this little gap thing here is it's just there. Can't do anything about that. But otherwise, very cool. He's some form of Porsche. I'm sure somebody out there, or several somebodies out there, know what kind of Porsche he's supposed to be. But for me, this is just jazz. You know, the white Porsche with the blue and red stripe going down the center, that says jazz to me. It's really nice, bright white with a little bit of sort of not quite silverish, not quite grayish, almost off-whitish detailing in the front there for the vents. And then some more nice detailing throughout with like the grille and the translucent plastic for the lights. I like the nice red bumper there too, that really pops. And then the combination silver and kind of coppery colors for the rims, which is cool. And then on the back, taillights that actually appear... No, that's painted. Yeah, that's right. That's painted. That's not translucent plastic, but yeah. Painted taillights, a little bit of black detailing on the side of the spoiler, a little bit more gunmetal-y gray detailing for the vents on the back there. And of course, more stripes. The windows do that thing that Perukill does that kind of, it's a shame, but it doesn't kill the figure for me. And that is, like the front windshield is fine. You can see inside, and there are some robot bits in there, but it's tinted enough that it's not immediately noticeable, and that doesn't bother me. These bother me a little bit because you can see the robot bits kind of jammed up in there a little bit, and back here too. And I mean, it's not a game breaker, but I kind of feel like if it's gonna show, you know, I just feel like if you're gonna have translucent windows, don't have them showing robot junk. If there's gonna be crammed up robot junk that you can see through the windows, then don't make the windows translucent. Either tint the crap out of them so you can't really see in there well, or paint them entirely. But yeah, it's a solid little Porsche. A couple little bits hanging off down here and here that kind of give things away a bit. Though the robot does hide away pretty well. You know, I like the distinct shape with like the sort of wider back end with like the wheel wells back there and the way things kind of taper around the front there. It's a nice shape for a car. I think it looks good. And the coloring is nice and definitively jazz, as I've said. As far as sizes go, he looks a little bit tiny from this angle. Not tiny, but he looks a little bit small from this angle. But while he may be comparable in height to a Power of the Primes Deluxe, the length is where it really stands out. Let me get this out of the way here. And you put them both together. You can't see that. Let's move that up. And yeah, there you can kind of see how he's got more to him. He's also definitely denser and a lot heavier. Like, he weighs about as much as, just ballparking it, I'd say he weighs about as much as like 3 of these. While he's not much bigger, he is bigger. And he's definitely weightier. And also cooler. But then again, he also costs like 4 times as much, so that's kind of what you'd expect. But seeing as how this is a car mode, there's really not much else I can say about it. You know, it's nice contours, the coloring is nice, the detailing is nice. It kind of rides this fine line between things having no real texture to them and having just enough texture to kind of straddle the space between cartoon and reality. So I like it. I like it very much. Anyway, let's get to that robot mode. And after a fair bit of fiddling because I couldn't remember how to do the legs, here we have Maketoys Downbeat in robot mode, and this looks pretty darn spectacular. It's weird, I was a big fan of jazz for a while, especially when I was in college for some reason. Don't really know why. I used to have the Alternator's Meister figure, and that was just so great. I really missed that figure, actually. But this guy looks really, really good. He's definitely jazz with the car chest and the door wings and the white and black and silverish gray color scheme, and of course that head, which we'll look at in a little bit more detail soon. But aside from all of this, another thing that I really appreciated about Downbeat is the fact that you have options when it comes to the door wings. Like, this is the jazz that I remember with the door wings flared out like that, but you can also really easily just tuck them away by just swinging them down into the back there, and then closing that up. And now he's got a clean back. And it's funny because while the door wings are the jazz that I know and grew up with, just from toys and stuff, I actually really like how clean this looks without the door wings. There's just something really neat about this guy being like, you know, he's a humanoid robot, but when you're looking at him from the front, just dead on, the only thing that indicates that he turns into a car that's immediately noticeable is the hood chest. Yeah, he's got wheels down here, but like you don't really notice those at first. And there's something really cool to me about the fact that that's how clean this transformation is. I mean, yeah, you turn him around and you start to notice like the wheels and the back of the car. And then we also got the hood, not hood, the roof of the car with like the side windows and the front there. But like overall, it's a really clean transformation and I really, really like it. It's also really solid too. Like, I think it might be because I have a reissue. I'm pretty sure this is a reissue of Downbeat, because like I remember seeing videos where like this bit on the front here wouldn't really stay pegged in very well, and it was really easy to like turn the arms to bump all this out of place, and like you can still do that and it still does knock things out of alignment, which sucks, you know, it's a failing of the design. But first off, as long as you don't move the arms that way, you don't have to worry about it. But also, like, it holds together seemingly more solidly than the initial videos that I was watching. Like, this thing does not come down unless I want it to, which is cool. I like that very much. I also appreciate the fact that he has an ab crunch. I mean, you know, Maketoys figures, so of course they have a thing for ab crunches. Yeah, I really like how clean this is. And I know I talk a lot about texture and how much I appreciate all the sculpted details and stuff like that, but I also really appreciate how little sculpted details there are in this guy. Like, there's a little bit at the feet, you got the ridges for the shins, some very small detail on the thighs, and more on the backs of the thighs, oddly enough. And then around the pelvis, you got some around the hip skirts and stuff like that. Some small but there line work on the forearms, and then hood chest and shoulders, and then the head, which we'll look at in a minute. But yeah, like, this definitely pulls off the animation look better because there's so little texture to him, and I actually really like that, which is funny, I know, because I usually am not a stickler for accuracy, and I'm not. I just think stylistically this looks really cool. And it's a nice change of pace from what I'm used to with a lot of the stuff in my collection, which has like finer details and texture and all that. Now, moving in on that head, this head, it's hard to see with that darker blue background, but like, that head screams jazz to me. Like, that helmet is almost as iconic jazz as I think Optimus Prime's head is, or Grimlock's very particular brand of featureless face is Grimlock. It just screams jazz with like the little ears and the shape of the helmet, the black with the gray face, and this really nice metallic blue visor. It looks great. The one gripe that I have in terms of the head is I kind of feel like the helmet almost looks a little too bulky, just from what I can recall and from what I think in general looks good, but it's totally a nitpick. I still think this guy looks fantastic, even with this slightly bulky helmet. It's just, you know, if I'm finding faults, that would be a thing that I'd be kind of like, well, I wish that was a little different. Also, I love the smirk face. I thought I wasn't going to like it, but once I put it on, like in hand, this just looks so good. It's so good. He comes with another face that's like a regular plain old face, and you know, you can pop the helmet off for something really horrible looking to swap things around, but nah. We're gonna keep his smirky face because I like that smirky face a lot. I did put a repro label on this guy right there in the chest, this strip here where you've got that really nice use of color, actually, with like the rich dark blue, the very bright white, and then the red, and of course spot for an Autobot logo. And I actually went and got myself a sticker sheet of the translucent Autobot logos with just the, or rather translucent faction logos, I should say, with just like the white outlines. And I thought this is a prime spot for it, no pun intended. And yeah, that looks good. I really like that. Oh, and also the turquoise on the waist. It is the only place that it shows up, but I don't mind it. It just kind of works. And I don't really know why, because I know in the past I've said that, you know, like having a color only appear in one spot tends to only work when it's on the head. But I think this might actually work for me because even though this is metallic, this turquoise does kind of work with the blue of the visor. Yeah, this is a really cool guy. Really cool transformation, or rather clean transformation. And I appreciate him very much. Anyway, here you can see how he stacks up with a current Power of the Primes figure. And yeah, he is definitely bigger. And this white, it looks so much brighter than that kind of light gray off-white color that Dreadwind has going there. Not that I have an issue with his color scheme, it's just like seeing the two of them next to each other makes that look duller and that looks significantly brighter. And in terms of other more Masterpiece-y figures, here he is with Masterpiece G2 Sideswipe. And yeah, he's right in that size class. There are some definite stylistic differences between the two of them. Also, one came out several years after the other one. But height-wise, they definitely work. And yeah, I like I keep saying, I really like Downbeat. It was weird because it's gonna sound horrible of me considering the price of this figure, but he was kind of an impulse buy. Not like in the traditional sense, it's just I was suddenly like, okay, I really want to get a Masterpiece Jazz. I've got some money. Let me get this one. Oh, that one's not available anywhere. Actually, this one looks really good too. And now I still like the look of J4ZZ. I think that guy's cool and would look really nice standing next to OpX. But in terms of like a Masterpiece thing, I think aesthetically speaking, this guy definitely wins out over the Generation Toy version. Because, I mean, you know, the Generation Toy version is, it's like Masterpiece scale, but not Masterpiece style, and it's all complicated and weird, and everyone can just put whatever they want with whatever they want. It doesn't really matter. But considering the fact that I can't find Generation Toys version of Jazz, I'm very happy with this. This is very cool. Leg transformation is a little bit fiddly, but still can't argue with the results. It looks so good. What I do think is cool, though, and I didn't mention this before because I forgot and I'm remembering to do it now, is I like how the car hood actually compacts in slightly to make the chest. That's a nice effect. Not that it would look bad if this was the regular stretched out car hood width, but bringing it in a little bit does clean it up a bit, and I think helps with the proportions, and it just looks really nice. And one last thing to mention, I am a fan of the shoulder launcher thing, just like I was with Maketoys Gundog. The only thing that kind of disappoints me with this is the way this slides in. It kind of sits over this corner and only this corner, which is fine. Like, that's fine. I don't mind it being designated for like a very specific spot. But what kind of disappoints me is it's difficult to... Okay, never mind. I'm a liar. For some reason, I thought that it didn't work with the door wings up, but clearly I am mistaken, and you can totally do it with the door wings up. So, yeah, let's pretend I wasn't going to make a criticism at all, and I'm just talking about the shoulder thing, which I do think looks cool. I like the shoulder thing. I like shoulder-mounted things, I guess. I don't know. Obviously, it's not as clean this way, because it's, sullying his silhouette a little bit, but it looks really darn good. I really can't complain about that, even though I feel like I've been nitpicking this whole time. But no, I really do like this guy. The transformation is definitely more involved than you might think at first. It almost lulls you into a false sense of security because things are so clean in both modes and it doesn't look overly complicated, and realistically speaking, it's not overly complicated. It's just certain things have to move in certain ways at certain times, and that can sometimes be a little bit tricky. It definitely tripped me up a bit when I was doing the transformation, and that's really sad because I just transformed this guy into his car mode at the start, before starting the video. But anyway, that is going to do it for Maketoys Downbeat. What do you all think of this guy? Because I know there are a lot of choices for Masterpiece style jazzes at this point. Like, there's the Generation Toy version, there is this one, obviously, Toy Worlds, what was that one called? Coolsville. And then, let's see, there's a Zeta Toys version, which I believe was just Coolsville again. And then whatever that new one is, I think it's Agent Meister or something like that. I forget the company that makes it because it's like their first figure. I've seen a video on that, and I am... no, thank you. I don't think it's terrible, but it's just not for me. This one's for me. But as far as you all think, if you were to have a jazz for you, what would be the jazz for you? And I'm also curious, because I'm not ruling this out, for any of you who have Generation Toys version of Jazz, do you think that that's something I should still kind of keep an eye out for? Because I still think that's a cool figure. Do you think someone with Downbeat would still get a kick out of that figure? Because, I mean, I'm not looking to replace this guy. I'm just wondering if, like, having both of them in my collection would be too much jazz, or if they're different enough that it'd still be a fun thing to get. And also, if, it's a good toy, then that's another thing to consider. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.